Welcome to Revenue Growth Live with Daryl Amy. You're about to join an interactive forum where business executives, sales professionals, and marketing leaders share ideas to accelerate growth. While you are here, make sure to like or subscribe to get notifications for future episodes. You're encouraged to get involved in today's live conversation by liking and commenting. Now, let's join Daryl Amy for fresh ideas and innovative strategies to help you grow your business faster.
Hello and welcome back to Revenue Growth Live. Daryl Amy, growth architect here, helping great companies and individuals grow. I'm so excited that you're here today, and I just want to say this is a huge celebration because not only today are we live on Facebook, live on YouTube, we're also live on LinkedIn. So thank you so much to the team at LinkedIn for enabling us to be able to do this. And I'm really excited. And if you're new to the show, and by the way, welcome to those of you who are joining right now live. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you're watching later, love to hear from you as well. Thank you for liking and sharing the ideas in the podcast or in the live stream today. The purpose for Revenue Growth Live is this. I get to talk with all kinds of business owners, marketing professionals, sales leaders. On the Revenue Growth Podcast, I get to talk with a lot of thought leaders and authors, and all of it is sparking lots and lots of ideas. And so what I wanted to do is bring those ideas to you fresh, unfiltered, and create a forum for us to have a conversation and discussion about growth. And, you know, right now, as we're now here, what are we? We're on November 12th. So, you know, the clock's ticking in the fourth quarter. Two things are going on inside smart organizations. Number one, we're driving towards the end of the year, making sure that this year, which has been anything but a predictable year, it's been a challenging year for most organizations, but we want to make sure that we finish strong. So I want to encourage you in that. And then also, this is the time where we've got to begin looking at our strategy going forward. What's the strategy going to be going forward for your organization as we move into 2021 and beyond, into whatever the new normal becomes? And so on Revenue Growth Live, my commitment to you is to share fresh strategy, marketing, and sales ideas to help you grow your company. So welcome. We're glad you're here. And once again, love to anything in the comments, love to make this interactive and live. Today, we're going to be talking about how your company's core values and your personal core values, if you're in sales, can be used to drive revenue growth, not only to accelerate revenue growth, but to drive the right kind of revenue growth. And so we're going to have a great discussion about that, continuing our conversation from earlier in the week. But as we get started, I want to say a huge shout out and thank you. One of my bucket list things, one of my bucket lists as a professional and as an author was to be a part of the Marketing Book Podcast, one of my all-time favorite podcasts. And I am happy to report today that on Friday, which will be tomorrow, the Marketing Book Podcast is going to feature the Revenue Growth Engine. I got to speak with Douglas Burdett, fantastic guy, amazing interview, and ask really good questions. We had we had a fantastic conversation. I think I've been told it taps out at 90 minutes, so it may be a couple drive times to consume it. But I got to tell you, that conversation with Douglas Burdett is packed full of ideas that you can use to grow your business, and I'm really excited about it. So check out the Marketing Book Podcast, subscribe, and I've been told that you will see the Revenue Growth Engine episode tomorrow morning, and we want to share all kinds of ideas on that. So excited about that. But today, the topic of conversation is how can you leverage your company's values to drive growth? Last time, and by the way, if you're new to the to Revenue Growth Live, we go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern time. That's 9 o'clock Pacific if you're keeping score. And we're found on Facebook, now on LinkedIn and YouTube as well. So there's lots of places you can watch if you're not able to join us live. And we're usually here for 20 minutes. We have a quick conversation about something to help you grow. So the topic of conversation this week, though, has been how do we use our company values to drive growth? Most of the organizations that I get to work with have given a lot of thought to their company values. I talk to a lot of companies and work with a lot of companies that use the entrepreneurial operating system outlined in Traction. I also talk with a lot of companies that have visionary, forward-thinking, good-hearted business owners that have thought a lot about the values of their organization. So how can those values be aligned with growth? Well, the last time we talked about how you can use your values to refine your ideal client profile. So if you missed that, you can go back and look at the previous live cast. And we talked about how you can use your values to help you define who your ideal clients are. Look, if there's alignment between your values and the value of your clients, it's going to be a lot better. There's going to be more loyalty. There's going to be more trust. Trust is the currency of business. So that's good. But the second way to use your values to drive growth is to integrate your values throughout your messaging, to integrate your company values throughout your messaging. And here's what I mean by that. Your revenue growth engine is fueled by the message. Every engine has fuel. The problem is most companies have gas in their fuel tank. They got water in their fuel tank. There's supposed to be gasoline in the fuel tank, petrol for my British friends. But there are a lot of companies have water in the gasoline, and the water is the thing that waters down your message and actually makes your revenue growth engine perform poorly is when you're talking about yourself or your products instead of the outcomes that your clients and prospects want. Look, when you talk about yourself and your products, you get tuned out, you become white noise. So we end up with value statements that are in marketing and sales that end up being what I call buzzword soup. So here's an example of some buzzword soup from a technology company. Listen to this. Tell me if you've heard this before. I wrote this out in the article that I'll share here on LinkedIn about this topic. In fact, let me just go ahead and share that if you want to follow along. Thank you, John. I hear getting reverb, so we'll fix that right away. No worries. So what we want to do is we want to set this up so that we're not delivering corporate buzzword soup. Corporate buzzword soup sounds like this. How about this value proposition? We help companies maximize their efficiency while reducing expenses and strengthening security. Now, is that statement true? Absolutely, 100%. If that company, I'm using an example, maybe a cybersecurity or tech company, we help companies maximize their efficiency while reducing expenses and strengthening cybersecurity using synergies provided from the latest technological enhancement. It's like blah, blah, blah. It's like corporate white noise. Is the statement true? Yep. Does it resonate with prospects? Nope. So you go, okay, Daryl, what could I do? What would help? Well, what if we could restate the value proposition or the core message of the company by beginning or including the language and spirit of your company values? So let's say this company, this example, cybersecurity tech company that we're talking about today, let's say that their corporate values were trust and teamwork. By the way, speaking of, just a huge shout out. I've been reading Mark Benioff's book this week, Trailblazer. Fantastic books about his core values behind Salesforce.com. And the number one core value, if you've read anything by Mark, you know that the number one core value of that company is trust. So anyhow, let's go back to our example. Let's say this sample company's core value is trust and teamwork. Those are two of the core values. You might restate your message. So let me give the previous message, right? Buzzword soup. We help companies maximize their efficiency while reducing expenses and strengthening their security. How about this? Trust, core value. Trust is the bedrock of business success. When your business is hacked by cyber criminals, you risk losing more than the revenue from lost productivity or ransom payments. you also risk losing the trust of your customers. That's why we're committed to protecting your greatest asset, the trust of your customers. See where we went there? We said, okay, rather than the buzzword soup, let's begin with our core value and let's talk about that core value in the context of what we do. Teamwork, another core value, great core value a lot of companies have. How could that work? Okay, let's listen to buzzword soup. Here we go. We help companies maximize their efficiency while reducing expenses and strengthening cybersecurity. All right, our buzzword soup, not going to resonate with very many people. How about this? Teamwork does make the dream work. Okay, that's a little cheesy, but hey, it was an example. Teamwork does make the dream work. However, it's hard to work as a team when you don't have the tools to communicate. That's why our clients enjoy the way we empower their team with technology that enables teamwork. Then we back it up with full support to keep your team communicating. And so now what we've done, instead of just using the corporate buzzword soup, we're actually incorporating values into the messaging. And so we're doing two things in that. We're escaping some of the buzzword soup. We're also communicating in a way that's going to resonate with other buyers, companies that share our values. So now, instead of that, blah, 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 white noise of insert corporate adjective here, we're actually talking about things like trust. We're talking about things like teamwork in the context of how we help clients achieve their outcomes. And so I want to challenge you when you think about your business to do this. This will be our homework for today's Revenue Growth Live. You're not getting out of here without something to do. So here's what I want to challenge you to do is I want you to think about your company values. What are your company values? If you don't have any, probably a good idea to put some together. And that's the topic of a whole other discussion. But think of your company values, or if you're a sales professional, also think about your core values as a sales professional, as an individual. And then think about, I want you to write out at least one statement that is a value proposition that includes your values. So a message statement that includes your values. So once again, if your values trust, you might start that statement like trust is the bedrock of business success. Or like the article I wrote today, trust is the currency of business. And then connect that to the business that you have. If you're in IT, connect trust to cybersecurity. If you're in financial services, connect trust to the ability to give advice from somebody that understands you. If you're in the healthcare space, connect trust, that's a core value, to some aspect of your value that you deliver. And now you're going to be presenting your value proposition in a way that aligns your values with the reader's values. And it's not, we help escape corporate buzzword soup. So I'd love to see some examples of that, by the way. If you're watching live or if you tune in later, I'd love to see like, hey, Daryl, here's one of our corporate values. And here's the statement I came up with, or the paragraph I came up with, or the video script I came up with based on that value being incorporated into what we do. I think there's a lot of potential here. And, as marketing professionals and sales professionals and business owners as well, we're always looking for ways to talk about our company, talk about our offering. And so I want to challenge you to escape the corporate buzzword soup and use your values in a way that will help drive the conversation forward. So that is the nugget today. We talked last week about how values can inform your ideal client profile. And this is all shared, by the way, in this article that I shared on LinkedIn. So we talked last week about how your values can inform your ideal client profile. We talked today about how you can integrate your company values throughout your messaging to create things that resonate with the types of clients you want to attract, and just to simply escape the corporate buzzword soup. Next time on Tuesday, we're going to talk about using your values to reframe your client experience. And I love the topic of client experience. It is such a powerful topic and such an incredible way to create competitive advantage. We're going to dive into that on Tuesday at 12 o'clock noon, 9 o'clock Pacific. I'll put a link to that article again in the show notes. I also want to, as we wrap up today, I also want to share some other sources of value. One of my favorite thought leaders in the area of sales and sales management is Kevin Davis. And I had the opportunity to talk with Kevin on the Revenue Growth podcast that was released yesterday. And what I love about Kevin is he is just a down-to-earth, practical guy. He shoots straight, talks about in this podcast about how sales managers in particular can lead in these uncertain times. This is really, really powerful, especially as we're trying to figure out how to make the year in the fourth quarter, and also as you're looking to set up your year for 2021. Sales leaderships, your sales managers, VP of sales, that whole area is an area that is critical in terms of executing well and driving revenue. And Kevin offered some very powerful ideas in the podcast. Specifically, one of the ones that I thought was really powerful was he talked about what area of the pipeline that sales managers need to have on their radar. And when you think about pipeline and sales managers, and I know this because I've been a sales manager several times, I only wish I had guys like Kevin to coach me along. I probably would have done a better job. But one of the things, he said, look, sales managers, you're always looking at the bottom of the pipeline. There's a different part of the pipeline that you should be paying attention to. And if you do that, you're actually going to drive better results and improve your sales reps at the same time. So listen to that episode of the podcast. It is a phenomenal conversation. Kevin also has a book. I'll put that in the show notes here. Kevin Davis, Sales Management in Uncertain Times. Fantastic conversation there. And one of the things I love about Kevin is he also has a book we didn't get to talk about on the podcast. And if you're in sales or have any type of client-facing role for revenue, his book, Slow Down, Sell Faster, Pure Dynamite. Fantastic book. Highly recommend Slow Down, Sell Faster. I think you're really going to enjoy that. So, hey, thank you for joining us today on Revenue Growth Live. Once again, I want you to remember your homework. What's your assignment? Take your company values, write them down, and create a statement, a messaging statement around one of those values. And if you want ideas on how that could look, click on that article I pasted that I wrote that was posted on my LinkedIn profile. But as always, hey, I just want to say a huge shout out to everybody, whether you're working in sales, leading a sales team, working in marketing, if you own a company, if you're a solopreneur, or you're a leader in a Fortune 500 company, we're all aiming in the same direction right now, and that is revenue growth. And this is a critical time as we finish strong for 2020. So I know this has been a challenging year for everybody, but I just want to cheer you on right now. And as we say at the end of every Revenue Growth Live, let's get going and let's get growing.